ring. All right. Hey, welcome to the Blackout Tips Podcast. I'm your host, Rod, joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
and we are live on a Saturday for your feedback, which is the episode where you guys get to say whatever you have to say throughout the week, and we respond to it here. All right. We appreciate everybody takes time out to write in, call in, leave messages, whatever you do, voicemails, all the contact info is in the show notes. The official weapon of the show is and the unofficial sport
Football.
and bullet ball extreme stream. And of course, we got to start first and foremost with the people that gave us money by going to the blackouttips.com, looking on the right hand side and saying, hey, I like to donate. I like to support the show. One time recurring. We don't care. We're going to give you your shout out.
May I have your attention? You are now listening to Charlotte's Own, Rod and Karen. We welcome the good folks who tied to the Black Diamond Tips.
Today's a new day. That's right.
Yes.
New day, new pay. Let's talk about these coins, y'all. I'm not talking about bits. We got recurring donation. Brian B, thank you. Corey B, no relation. Jeff M, McCole F, early days of photography. Marvin B, yes, Marvin B. Michael W, J Full, Miko H, Asia D, Chriselle M, Solana S, Adam S, Michael S, Tom W, Dana R, Noel W, Laura E, Nicholas Z, and Rita Mae C, and lastly, Bomani Jones. Thank you, everybody that took the time out to give us that coin, the kind that jingles or the time that falls. We don't care. We appreciate it all. And what appears to be a trend, we have no 5-star reviews this week.
Have y'all decided to boycott the 5-star reviews? I mean, what is happening here?
Yeah, I we did get a couple for This Too Much.
Okay.
So there are people that left 5-star reviews, but none for the regular show. So I'll read those This Too Much 5-star reviews on This Too Much with Bossy when we do our Atlanta season review kind of. All right, let's get to the website. Episode 2532, Baboon and Biotin was our feedback episode. We got 5 comments. Appia says, thank you for always being thoughtful and considering other opinions. This makes you special. And I personally have never had Arby's as far as I remember. Thank you, Appia. I try to be a bit considerate. I'm not always able to get there on everything. There's some shit that just, I'm a human too, you know. It's like, God damn it. Didn't we already say, you know, but I try to be somewhat considerate. And if nothing else, even when people disagree, I try to leave room for like, yo, that's cool for you to feel that way.
Right.
Here's why I don't feel that way. And, you know, as long as you're not trying to make me feel a certain way, cool.
I'm cool with it too.
Ms. Barnes says, Queen EVE has spoken and all is right in the world. The orange dreamsicle shake is now at Arby's. You're welcome. Yeah, I bet it's orange. And EVE says, thanks, Miss Barnes. Y'all hyping each other up. I hope y'all start a duo.
They got a club.
Yeah, y'all should become roommates. Don't let Rod's anti-Arby's agenda stop you from enjoying the delicious that is Arby's. They have the meats. Why don't you just start a account for dedicated to Arby's? Y'all should go ahead and do that.
If they don't already, they might have one. Just didn't tell nobody.
Yeah. And good luck with that money going to the GOP. Ms. Barnes says, thank you, Trey, for the reminder. The conversation that you and Dom had was the pep talk that I did not know I needed in my life. It was an excellent episode of The Mind of Dom. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you.
That was a good.
Oh, you listened to it?
Yes, I did. It was really, really good.
Thank you. Tanya says, thanks, Rob, for mentioning you were on Dominic's The Mind of Dom podcast. I didn't realize he moved to Anchor, so I wasn't getting the new episodes because I had the old RSS feed. The episode was so great. Regarding your podcasting origin story, remember having to troubleshoot IRQ conflicts? Thank goodness those days are behind us. Man, there was so many things about the technical aspects of
so much easier nowadays
of how just dealing with computers and all that stuff. It was just so much stuff, and we take so much for granted now.
Yep,
and I'm glad we're at that point.
Yeah, a lot of it is plug and play now, like, you know, and eventually even the RSS feed is going to be a thing of the past. And for some people it is, depending on what you use and stuff like that. You don't even have to worry about it.
Well, what I mean is stuff like just even how you get on the internet. You know, the format of an MP3, the bit compression rate, stuff that people don't really consider too much unless you're like nerdy. You know, I know people now that don't even own any podcasting equipment. They just get their laptops, go to a website, sit down and record, you know.
Yep. They don't have no mics, no mixer, nothing. Right.
Yeah, you can just be on Zoom, make a podcast now. The poll was, do you have white friends? Yes, no, or I'm the white friend. Wow. So that's how y'all really feel. This is a 50-50 poll.
Oh shit.
48.15% said yes on our website. 48.15% said no. And then 1% was the white friend. And let's check out Spotify. 66% do have white friends. That makes sense because they have the money. So you have to think.
They gonna be in them circles.
Money puts you in a circle where you can't help but have to have some white people around
in your life.
So 66% of them have white friends. 31% do not have white friends, and 4% are the white friends. I think the main thing we can draw from the conclusion of these polls is that we don't have a lot of white listeners. Share our podcast with someone. We trying to grow. That was a comment for the show because we need to do better with these white people. Apparently, I mean 4% and 1%. Tell Chet to listen to us, and then we'll set them straight on your behalf. You can just passively aggressively be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't say anything about the Juneteenth ice cream. They did. M. Nicole says, I do all the time. Steven says, holy crap, Rye, you succinctly explain how I've been feeling lately. It seems there's no room for nuance. I'm getting that conflict is an abuse book. I peeped Dom's cast episode. Great dialogue. Thanks, Steven. And honestly, like, I think for a lot of people, they'll understand where I'm coming from because I think I'm articulating a lot of stuff that people are wanting to say, and maybe they feel uncomfortable saying it right now. I don't think I'm saying anything controversial. I'm not trolling, and I'm not out to hurt anybody's feelings.
Right.
But I'm done with and sick of the kind of gotcha shit that people do that are supposed to be like ostensibly on my side of issues, and we're always talking about building coalitions and this diversity, blah, blah, blah. But then we have zero tolerance for people learning. We have zero tolerance for people that don't get every word right, even when the intent is there. You know, that whole intent doesn't matter shit is a big crock of shit, you know.
Yes, because it does.
It's because people, I understand what it was supposed to mean, but how we end up using it is normally to justify our cruelty. You know, so I think there's a lot of us that are frustrated because everyone's frustrated, but frustrated in a way that's a lot less polarizing and a lot more like, dog, let's just be pragmatic about certain things because this other stuff isn't getting us where we want, and we've given it a try. It's been 10 years of everybody being on social media, pulling up old tweets and saying we got you. That doesn't seem to be getting us any of the stuff that we claimed it would get us.
Right. And the same energy that a lot of these people give other people, they can't live up to them same standards because, you know, you question them, it's everything but whatever the topic is on hand. The same tactics that they claim that other people who they go after don't do, they do those same things because the tactics actually work. And also can be very frustrating because they would be mad if these same things were used against them. No errors, no mistakes, be perfect, black and white, be on all the time, know the right things all the time, never make a mistake, because if you make a mistake, you're going to be on, and that's the thing, everybody's trying not to be on the Summer Jam screen because they go, well, you fucked up, where everybody's fucked up, so, you know, it's a catch-22, so do have some grace, but we're at a place where nobody wants to have grace for nobody but them and theirs.
Yeah, it's just the whole, we say no one's perfect, and then immediately steamroll over people's imperfections, and it's just, or for having imperfections, and I don't know, I'm just tired of it. I get it. I just don't want to run the spaces that we're responsible for. Anything I'm involved in, I don't want to run it that way.
Right.
And those other people can continue to do that, but I think there's some deeper shit going on with people like that.
Of course.
But yeah, it's a great book, and I can't recommend it enough. And it was a tough read, and I just wonder, like, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. TJBB76 says, yes, just one, and he has been to a couple cookouts. Yeah, white people be at the cookouts. I don't know why people lying.
But yeah,
Marvin,
gonna be there. Gonna be more than you think.
Marvin says definitely doing that with the folks I know can listen. There's some folks though. Well, don't share it with everybody. You don't have to if you don't think they can handle it.
Right.
Only Arby's eaters, this is Raphael. Only Arby's eaters don't share the blackout tips with their friends. I share this podcast even more than mine because it is the truth. I will smack anyone who doesn't share with friends, sacred families, aliens. C Fink Leah says done and done. Thank you. Ignacio says will do, and Miss Barnes says all the time. Well, she eats Arby's and she says she shared the podcast.
She shares.
I mean, I hope it's the truth. You know, I've seen her at events. She's had her gear on.
Yes.
You know, all I'm saying is go as hard for us as you go for that Arby's, and we'll be all right.
I think she does.
Well, I don't know. She goes so hard for Arby's. I don't know that anyone can assume.
We a far second.
Anyone can assume it's the same level of energy. Episode 25, 33, the War Report. This is when we had Shalewa and Gaster on.
Yes, that was fun.
Some people got introduced to them as a duo in their podcast. Some people already knew. At any rate, everyone seemed to enjoy it, and that's what I love. Miss Barnes says, this is why I love the show. Put me on the other podcast. I have added the War Report along with others on my podcast list. This show had me giggling like hell on Sunday morning. The hydration thing hit close to home for me. I was supposed to meet a friend of mine for drinks recently, but she had an emergency and had to cancel because her son all of a sudden fainted and hit his head on the concrete. In the ER, it was discovered that it was severe dehydration. Thank God he's recovering. But with summer coming up, just keep that water with you at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with global warming and shit, man. Like,
yeah, I've been dehydrated for that shit. Is not fun.
I have to drink water, man.
Mm-hmm.
Appia says, now I really want to know about the guy who had to be cut out of the show because he talked shit on the podcast. Without names is fine. What was it? A, COVID does exist. B, these bitches want to get their asses grabbed. C, Asian people are like, it's social stereotypes. Well, I can tell you what he talked about, and it was a lot of homophobic, transphobic stuff on the most popular podcast in the world. So we could not let that comedian. We just in all good. It wasn't even a let thing. I just don't think it would have worked to have this segment on the show because at the time he was too hot and everybody would have been like, ain't that the fucked up dude? I mean, look how people, well, Appia, I don't know if you know anything about Kevin Samuels, but people were mad at Atlanta for having Kevin Samuels on the show. And Kevin Samuels, they wrote that in 2019 and filmed that probably a year ago or some shit.
Right. They filmed it a while ago.
So anyway, Brooklyn Shoebay says, don't let New York niggas fool you. We don't like the summer. Be on a crowded subway platform in July and see if someone says this ain't nothing. Granted, there will be a brother in Tim's denim shorts and a tank and a do-rag complaining it's too hot for this shit. Also, who couldn't tell Gaster isn't from Brooklyn? One time I called a customer service line. The lady asked if I was from Brooklyn. She was from somewhere down south. When I said yes, she joked that she could tell because of the forceful way I said my name. Anywho, I love this episode and discovery of the War Report. My kids and I discovered Shalewa in 2020 from a YouTube clip, and we have added all right, white boy to our regular slang whenever a famous white boy does something unproblematic. Finally, Too Short criticizing Kevin Samuels is the irony of all irony. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really enjoyed this because I had certain topics that I normally would reserve for an episode with just me and Karen, but not because they were sticky topics, but because when we have guests, a lot of times we end up, unless they've been on the show multiple times, we end up kind of doing an interview. Mm-hmm. And Gaster's never been on, so I know we needed to ask him some questions. But I really was like, and then after that, you know, I would love to get into these topics because they keep me in stitches listening to their podcast.
Yes, sir.
Talk about these topics. EVE says, great guest. I checked out the War Report and I really enjoyed their podcast. Thanks for putting me on to another good one. Yeah, I think also if you like what we do, they're very in that vein. And I don't mean on some like copy shit. I just mean like in that vibe. It's like if there was a playlist of podcasts and it was like, you know, you played a Blackout Tips and it started playing similar podcasts you might be into, they're in that purview of people, and vice versa. Like very good energy, very funny, very laid back, you know, kind of chill, but still not ignorant, you know what I mean? Right. Like I love them. DePaul, do you have central AC? Yes, I'm soft, or no, I'm tough.
Nigga, I'm soft.
I'm soft. 83% of the audience.
No AC, bitch. What?
So only 17% of the audience is tough. On Spotify, now you know they got the
People with
money, but the proposed results are 69% say yes, I'm soft, 31% say no, I'm tough. So they have less central AC amongst the people with all the money, which I think means they live in New York.
That's what I'm about to say. Yeah, they live somewhere that's more
These rich niggas. So they somewhere like I don't need central AC when the breeze from the coast comes in to my veranda. I don't know if any of those words make sense. Everything was in that sentence
fancy words
was more expensive than I've ever had. The Spotify stay hydrated was a comment. Got my metal water canteen on me 24/7, says Chris. Chaco Bean says just moved to a pre-war building, but most of these houses and apartment buildings in NYC, unless more recently built, don't have central AC. I remember being a kid visiting fam in Florida and was shocked at it. Miss Barnes says I'm at least a gallon of water daily. CM Geeter says, why I was listening to this episode right after the extra spicy version of Guess the Race, Spotify played a Popeyes ad.
that chicken for Popeyes.
That's pretty good. Because I don't know whichever ads they're gonna play when I put those in.
And it varies. Everybody doesn't get the same.
Yeah, it really says more about you.
Yes,
some people got a very sophisticated go to the library ad. Raphael says, yo, before I came to America, younger me didn't give a damn. After facing summer in VA, Illinois, MS, is that Missouri?
Is that Mississippi?
Texas, and now NY. Shit, I'm a dehydrated. Heat don't play here. Also bought an AC for every room. Rakisha says, I try to stay hydrated. Unfortunately, it's not always with water. LOL. Oh, okay, Keisha. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's like a sexual innuendo or alcoholism, admission of alcoholism. I don't know what. I'm moving on. Carrie says too humid in Mississippi not to. And Nicole says yup, and James says always, especially here in Texas. Oh yeah, everything's big in Texas.
Yeah, we got that humidity. That shit'll kill you if you ain't used to it. We don't got that dry heat. We got that heat where you see the sweat.
Everything's big in Texas, especially the glasses of water. That's what they always say. We got 3 comments on the next episode, the official Juneteenth ice cream. Appia says, here are my important thoughts on the exploitation of Juneteenth. 404 not found. I'm not stupid as comment on this as a white person from Europe. Smart. Indica says, I mean, that's the whole reason we did that segment was to hopefully get Appia canceled, but she was too smart.
She was too smart.
She was like, not to say shit.
She was like, nope, you won't catch me.
Indica Ari says, I fully understand the outrage, but that flavor sounds delicious. I just want a bite. Yeah, and also, in all fairness, I did find out later, and I think on the next episode I said it, that TM doesn't really mean what I thought it meant, which was like, this is some exclusive Walmart shit and nobody can use Juneteenth to sell ice cream. So, yeah, I'm less mad now than I was at the time. I would have got some of this ice cream. Although I guess the worst version of this is I do get the ice cream to make fun of it, and I eat some and then it's delicious.
Right, I would know.
Like that's the worst version. It's like it's even better than Creamalicious, or I'll be like, oh fuck, I shouldn't have. Now I'm just a legitimate fan. MD Aria says, I love my people, but I swear to God, this is always both hilarious and frustrating. I wanted that Juneteenth ice cream. I know they have Creamalicious and stuff, but it's hard to find in my area up north, and now it's fully sold out online. And before that, it was like $30 with another $10 shipping for 4 pints when I just wanted 1 pint. So at least let me get the Coon version. I think the trademark thing is the only thing that actually pissed me off about this. I know folks wanted Juneteenth to be recognized nationally by all of America, and I think part of that holiday being recognized is that companies will capitalize on it because now it's known outside of the Black diaspora. Now, just like Memorial Day, Pride, etc., we will see heavy commercialization of it. And it's one of those things where if companies don't put anything out for Juneteenth, but do say Pride or another holiday, there definitely will be a contingent of folks who will complain because when we expect companies to be woke, this will always be the response. Capitalizing on the event is a sign of virtue signaling. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, man. I'm so with you. I think you're right. I think this is the only thing that can come from diversity and inclusion in these corporate spaces. It's going to be products and it's going to be jobs.
Yes, and I don't have a problem with it at all. That's why I think I remember I give me like a 25 or 0, something like that, because my thing is I want the car commercials, I want the mattress sales, like I want to be like President's Day. Like I want it to be a big ass ordeal, like because in America, we American. That's the fuck what we do. When it's an official holiday, because everything goes on sale. You hear about everybody giving discounts. Buy one get one off. Like if we're gonna do it right. We can't be like celebrate Juneteenth, but don't do the commercialization of it unless it's us. It don't work like that.
Yeah. Let's see. We had the poll on the Spotify, which I fucked up, so it says 0%. My bad. Didn't mean to do that. Let's see. The Q&A was pulling double duty because Karen said that joke. It was funny. Ernest says doot. Ernest says that. Aaron says, since I can't vote, I would not buy Juneteenth ice cream. Sierra says, this is my phone or your podcast being cut short on Spotify for the last week. I don't get the smooches at the end or even the sword ratchetness. Oh,
that's not good.
I don't know. I have to look into that.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to check. I don't know. No one else has said it's being cut short, but I don't know. Maybe somebody can tell me if it's being cut short.
Right. Yeah, let us
now
know.
I'll look after the show because now it's too distracting. Hey, Ron and Karen. So I work at the trademark office and Walmart doesn't have a trademark for Juneteenth. People use a TM all the time and it doesn't actually mean anything. Only the R means registration. Thank you. So yeah, once again, not fucked with now. Lowering the score. Carrie says on that booty is the right answer. Pulling double duty on that booty. Lee says, I wonder why they didn't go with watermelon and chicken flavor for Juneteenth ice cream. I tried.
Me too.
I tried. I mean, I wouldn't want nobody to see me buying it, so I Instacart it, but I tried.
Have it sent to the house?
I feel bad for the white people that want to try some. Like, how they gonna get it?
Online. That's the only way you're gonna get it.
Yeah. Like, nobody want to see you. Imagine this is a Baskin Robbins. Yeah, I like 2 scoops of Juneteenth. The record scratch. Dwayne says definitely one of Queen Karen's better ones.
Oh, one of my better ones. So what you trying to say? You out here saying the rest of them is trash.
Shade.
All my shits is good. Even the bad ones. I don't care.
That's what Karen says. All right, let's get to the last episode. 2535 is always morning in America. We got a bunch of comments, and one of them's very long. Ramsey D. Jenkins says, good morning, Roger and Karen. I'm still playing catch up on the podcast for the past 2 weeks. I miss being in the chat. So last night was a treat. Rod is right about guns being a problem for mass shootings in America, but unfortunately, it's harder to vote than purchase a gun. It is. That's true. That is true.
No restrictions.
My coworkers think that if everyone prayed and trusted God, the mass shootings would stop. I'm so tired of America and all the violence. Appia says, so far, those prayers don't really seem to help. Appia says, from another continent, the shootings and the reactions seem kind of bizarre. 1, the terrible shooting habit. 2, people send thoughts and prayers. 3, same people point out that there are too many too easily available guns in America. 4, insane people, unfortunately, the other half say that, in fact, more guns are needed. A gun for every child and every teacher. A gun for every dog. That would help for sure. They try to blame someone they don't like for the shooting, like Black Lives Matter, trans people, or Greta Thunberg. That number 4 is so important because they will literally say anything other than the accessibility of guns, and to the point where they will say stuff that they are against, like mental health. Like, we need better mental health I don't know, avenues and resources.
When they cut the services.
Right. And then the other thing too, for 4, I'll throw in, and I mean this, responsible gun owners. They're part of the problem too, because they represent the vast majority of gun owners in America.
Yes,
and
they do.
So few of them feel any need to speak up until someone says we should restrict some gun ownership, and then they come out of nowhere like, held to the nine. It's like we have a problem. Are you on our side or are you with these nuts?
Right.
Because these people, whether you're a responsible gun owner, a good owner, or whatever, you're very, very, very unlikely to be in a situation where your gun actually stops one of these kind of killings.
Mm-hmm.
We've had entire departments of police force that have guns let these things happen because they don't want to die. So, I don't know. It's just sad. 5, nothing changes. 6, a new shooting happens. Yeah, and they say don't go numb, but I'm numb. I'd love to tell you I wasn't numb. I'm numb because I wouldn't survive any other way. Abia says, listen to the Jackie and Laurie show, 2 great female comedians in their 50s. And they talked about how after the pandemic breaks, lots of clubs went back to only hiring straight white male comics. And only maybe 1 in 10 hires is a diverse hire, meaning non-straight white man.
Right.
So I don't really believe this poor guy who claims to be a victim of anti-white racism. From the sales point of view, I understand him. It's a great way to get work from right-wing media outlets. He doesn't have to be good, just acceptable to be their new hero. That's so true. I personally am bored, but very bored by the typically white bro comic, and always glad to hear different voices. Yeah, that's the thing for me is like, if I guarantee if you do a macro look at the industry, it's still the vast majority straight white dudes getting all the opportunities.
Agreed.
Like they look at the inclusion of like say 13% of a roster being not a white dude and go, look at this. All those jobs should have went to white men.
Mm-hmm.
And I still blame the company. I hope the company gets sued and I hope they lose money. Because tell these people the truth. You're not good enough. We're not looking for people that are not good enough.
Right.
Stop saying this other stuff.
Oversaturation of the market, and y'all all are telling the same joke.
Because when it's black people, they never, even when we're good enough, they never give us this speech. Hey, it's just you're black and we don't need any black people. They give you the you're not good enough speech. They give you the well, I don't have to tell you why. You ain't get it.
Right. That's what they should have told this dude. We decided to go another route and hung up the fucking phone.
You thought you were helping his fucking ego, making everything feel good to this guy. And he went up there and backstabbed you.
Now you got a lawsuit.
Joe says, Walmart did that ice cream thing all wrong. Don't actually call it ice cream Juneteenth. And if you do, there has to be a special brand extension for it. Can't just stick it under the great value label. We all know that's just generic. Walmart is barely in the community where I live. They didn't bother coming into the big bad city until they had exhausted all other options for growth in the surrounding areas. But now they want to stick a trademark on it. I know it doesn't mean they own the name, but that TM was very prominent. They should have tried to get this placed under the Patti LaBelle Good Life label or created a new black extension. Oh, that's a good point. This might not have worked either, but it wouldn't have been looked as ham-fisted as slapping Juneteenth on Great Value ice cream tub. Yeah, I hear you. I think, to be honest, I think people would have had a problem with it no matter what, because black people are insecure about these things, and we are insecure with good reason, but we are insecure. And it gives me the same vibe of Black History Month when cafeterias serve traditionally African-American food, and there's always some students or some people online who complain.
Right.
And I always think to myself, one, probably were black people who fought for that to be included on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
And because you ain't saying that shit when it's Mexican Heritage Day and they bring in the tacos. You're not saying that for AAPI month when they bring in the Asian foods from all around the world. You're only saying it when it gets to black people because there's a level of insecurity that says you cannot honor us. We cannot be honored. We can only be mocked because we have been mocked so many times. We don't even inclusion in the honoring while we're jealous of it. And we go, why can't we have that? When we get it, we go, this isn't real. You see what I'm saying? Because we've never really had it before.
Right.
It's like we've had a bad relationship and we're looking through the phone of our new person we're with, because that we've had so many rough times. It's hard to really see what genuine inclusion, but genuine inclusion is, we do have fried chicken for Black History Month. And there are going to be collard greens. And there are going to be black eyed peas.
Right.
And
there is going to be cornbread.
And you don't have to eat it, but this is the food of our people. And this is a cafeteria that wants to introduce the cuisines of all these people to different people, different walks. Right. It's and it's not picking on you.
Mm-mm.
We're not, like but I get it. It's just a hard conversation to have because that's not. I guarantee it's not the only time they serve fried chicken. So you can't even pull the. They never do this, but for it's just we have a complex about being black and shining a spotlight on blackness because it becomes representative of everyone. And then it's like, what is it saying about us? It's saying we have a culture of delicious food. Evie says, honestly, I'm so numb to all the shooting. I have to protect my head and my heart by not going down the rabbit hole on social media. I knew nothing would change when that softball game got shot up. As for Nick Cannon, he's turned out to be a scumbag. You can't have all those kids with different women and have a full relationship with them all. It doesn't matter if he's wealthy. I'm sure those kids would rather have the emotional support in his time. I keep thinking about the Iyanla episode where the man is holding all those baby dolls, shaking my head.
Yeah, and my thing is this: we know nothing about the relationship Nick Cannon has with any of those women because it's not public yet. He might have great relationships with all of those women. Like we just don't know. And so, I know a lot of times when it comes to celebrities, and this is not at the person who wrote in, we take our own insecurities, we project them. So we're under the assumption that this is what he's doing. But unless y'all know something I don't know, I've never seen anything of any of these women coming out saying this dude ain't shit. I've never seen any of them talk about he don't pay child support. He's not there for his kids. Like I haven't seen any of those things. Come out to make me just automatically jump to he is a scumbag because he's living this particular type of life.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that, man. Everyone seems to be going into these relationships fully aware of what's happening. I haven't seen any of the women complaining about them. So I wouldn't be shocked if that happens at some point, but the same way I feel about most celebrity shit. Okay. It's entertainment. We can talk about it, but I'm not even gonna pretend to know their business like that. And the real truth of it will come out when those kids are old enough to speak about it, because that's who your real judge is going to be about parenting in every one of your situations. Everyone who has a child, the real judge of how good or bad you were is going to be that kid when they're old enough to speak about it.
Yeah, and have their own opinions and form their own opinions. Like I say, and the person writing, you might be right, but there's nothing that has came out to actually say that this.
Yeah, I mean, on the outside looking in, it would seem so, but I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know what those are. Seem to be a bunch of consenting adults that full well know that man's history and want to have a baby with him anyway. I know people that want to have babies with him anyway now. So anyway. Black Caesar wrote this long ass thing with no spaces in it or anything. Man, I'm gonna read it. I'm sure hopefully it's good, but give me some punctuation, give me some spaces. It's hard to read a big ass solid block of text like this without losing my place and all that stuff, man. I'm show y'all what it looks like. If y'all can see it on my screen.
Oh no.
Yeah, it makes it kind of hard for me. So, if you could. Let's see, I'm tired, so goddamn tired. All I'm seeing is politicians, reporters, and Twitter saying we got to do something, not offering a fucking solution to the problem. I'm going to be super transparent and tell you that I'm a gun owner. I own more than a few, and for no other reason than I like to shoot. As an engineer, I think guns are cool, and that's really it. I don't need them at all. At the same time, I know I shouldn't be able to own some of the guns I have because I don't need a 30-round magazine to hunt or protect my home. Either way, my hypocritical ass walks into a gun shop at the top of the pandemic and walked out with an AK-47 15 minutes later. I'm done trying to speak for responsible gun owners since they care about guns over kids, so maybe they'll listen to some pissed off, irresponsible one. There's more guns in this country than there are people. If they tried to round up all the AKs and AR-15s, we'd be looking at Civil War 2.0. That's just a fact. White men clutch their guns because they feel it is the only thing stopping black and brown folks from getting the revenge for slavery and other injustices throughout history. So what's next? Legislation? Sandy Hook didn't do shit, and those dead brown children won't do anything either. You're right, Rod. Anything other than the Australian approach to mass shootings in this country will not work. So what's next? Liability insurance? Make every gun owner buy liability insurance for their guns? You do something stupid with your gun, from a negligent discharge to bodily harm when you're financially responsible. I know that won't bring a loved one back after a tragedy, but fuck, it's a start. That's a good idea. I hadn't heard that one before. You want to own 20 guns, present company included. then you need 20 individual policies for those weapons. Cost depending on the type of gun and magazine capacity. And guess what? I sell my shit tomorrow. You want to buy a gun? Let's go talk to your therapist. You don't have one? Well, let's figure out if you're a danger to yourself and others. These niggas talk about the great replacement theory, all while exterminating themselves with death by suicide at the highest rate in the country. You want to still own a gun? Drag your ass down to the range twice a year and pay to pass a safety and operation exam to own it. Oh, you own 20 guns? Bring them too. And yes, you have to pay and pass qualification for each and every single one. You have children in your home, but you don't own a safe. Disqualify. You threaten gun violence online? Disqualify. Make owning a gun so inconvenient that half the gun on the safe. Fuck it. When I was in the military and went for my security clearance, someone interviewed my mom, my dad, my best friends, previous employers, and coworkers. They looked at my finances to see who I owed money to. They talked to my therapist. They requested my parents' immigration paperwork. They got all in my shit. I just don't see why that can't be applied to gun purchases. These are death machines designed to kill, maim, and destroy whatever is in front of it. It's not a prop, political statement, or even a God-given right. Before we can even discuss legislation, we need a serious culture shift around guns and gun ownership. Unfortunately, we live in a society that worships the gun and is filled with armed people who have never heard the word no. And for all the dummies who say, if we get rid of all the guns, only the criminals will have them. If you removed all the drugs off the street right now, it's the price of the brick going up or down. Clearly, these niggas never seen an episode of The Wire. I'm sorry for the rant, but I got too much skin in the game to be quiet. I'm tired of becoming numb to this shit. I have elementary age kids, and my wife is a school teacher. Middle school teacher. She's underpaid, can't use a math book with black people in it, but hey, give her a gun in the classroom if shit goes left, fuck out of here. Right. If giving up all my guns secured a promise of safety for my family, say less, it's done. Unfortunately, these responsible gun owners and ammosexuals are too bitch made to speak out against the fuckery in the firearm community or even fathom the idea of a nationwide gun buyback program, even a national digital registry. Love y'all, love the show. Woo, I'm glad I read that. Thank you. Even without the spaces and stuff, that was fire. And that's all I'm saying, man. It's a lot of people that own guns that know this is wrong, and you know, I look at them the same way. Like when something like during the Me Too movement and stuff, you have men that said they were good men, that said they had never done these things to women, that said they didn't agree with it. But yet they didn't want to say nothing because they were scared. It's like, oh, this is an attack on men. What are men gonna do? And I'm like, well, to me, if you're telling the truth, right? If you're telling the truth, you have no choice but to be a person that goes, yeah, that these men should not be working. It should be wrong for a producer to say, come to my room, I'm gonna fuck you, and then you get apart. Number one. Right. That should be wrong already. That's a fucked up power dynamic, and it's already messed up. But you so focused on being jealous of women on some incel shit that you don't even see how that power dynamic is fucked up for the dude to do. Because the implication is, oh, these women want that shit. But then when a woman says no, they tell you we're being sexually assaulted, we're being blackballed from the industry. So that means it was never really just a proposal of like, if you want to. It was her idea. That the vast majority of this is just men abusing power. Yes. And so when you go, I ain't saying nothing because of men. I'm a man and I don't want no problems. What you're really saying is you're okay with it. And I feel like that's what I think when I think about a lot of gun owners that claim to be responsible, supposedly 90-some% of them. And they're like, nah, I don't want to say nothing. What if they take my gun? It's like, well, we're not even at the taking gun point. We're saying, can we just not let people have these assault rifles willy-nilly? We need to go back to where you just can't go cop one and 15 minutes later, you're shooting up a school. And they're like, not even that. They get so wrapped up in their identity as a gun owner that the memes I'm seeing from people, I'm like, what? That's what you took from a school shooting? Is what about my right to own my gun? You took that from, all right, anyway. The poll, are you sad Juneteenth ice cream was canceled? Yes or no?
Yes.
32% said yes, 68% said no. Let's see what the people with money to actually afford Juneteenth, it does any difference. I'm just kidding. Everybody can afford great value. But no, it's about the same, 33 to 67. So yeah. I just like that there's a third of the audience that I identify with. That's a little sad. Like I did want to, even for the hijinks, I wanted it. And the quote of the episode was, "It's the guns, y'all, the guns." Quint says, "It's the guns." Aaron says, "Lock them guns up." Raphael says, "At my Veterans Lounge on campus, PWI in 2015, a white vet once said, the only right Americans are guaranteed is to own guns, not healthcare access protected. He receives treatment at the VA, by the way." Wow. Carrie says, "Roger, infringing on my Second Amendment rights with all this true." Tamara says, "Facts, 100, 100, 100. And Hilton says, "Do you think white criminals get treated with more dignity after shooting?" I don't know. I mean, see, the problem is this shit happens enough, but people that aren't white don't do this enough for me to truly have some type of even balance. Like, it's a handful of not white people that do the shoot the police, shoot up a bunch of places. And then those people often that do these shootings want to be killed by the cops. So then, like, on an individualistic level, like, I can't really, it's such an anomaly to do this shit in the first place. I don't really have, I'm cherry picking is what I'm saying. I'm doing, it's wherever my biases lie. And my biases, of course, lie with, if there was a brother, they would have shot him, that kind of shit. So, of course, Dylan Roof getting a cheeseburger and Kyle Rittenhouse getting, of course, these things are going to stand out in my mind. I'm just admitting to y'all I'm biased, and I don't know that the facts hold up. If, like, it might be 99.9% of these motherfuckers get killed by the cops. All I know is the handful of times where they weren't killed by the cops that stick out to me are all the ones that are white dudes and normally over some racially motivated shit. So that's my feelings on it. But once again, being cognizant and aware of myself, just letting you know, that may not be true. But I saw they got some Burger King, so you know what I mean? Like, it was not a good look. And I think also it really says a lot that so many of us just wish that these people get killed by the cops
out of our frustration.
Yeah. It says a lot about us that we're that. It says what we really believe policing is for. And I think a lot of us just want them killing the right people, which is a fucked up thing to say, because that means to a lot of people that love the police and support the police, killing unarmed Black people is the right target to them. So, message. All right, let's get into these emails. We got no voicemails. Tales from the Loop on Amazon Prime. It was just Rhonda writing in to tell us to watch Tales from the Loop on Amazon Prime. She thinks we would like it. Aaron says, and thank you. And Aaron says, for Baboon and Bitcoin, hey, Karen and Rod, sorry for the long email. I'm a gay Black man, and I was excited to listen to the new Kendrick because I knew it was going to be filled with lots of deep messages. Unfortunately, I saw the reactions to people on Twitter and follow a lot of gay people on Twitter, so I saw a lot of negative responses. All I saw were people talking about Kendrick using the F slur and dead naming whoever he was talking about in the song. They included screenshots of those lyrics, and I was disappointed and surprised that he would say those things. But then I just laughed because, of course, he's just another rapper, and that's what they do, right? Honestly, I decided not to listen to the entire album based off of what everyone online was saying. I didn't care to listen to the album anymore. Then after listening to you and Chris Lambert talk about the album, I decided to give it a listen. It's a great, deep album, and I'm going to have to listen some more times to understand everything he said. Regarding Auntie's Diaries, I understand why people would be upset because the F slur and this whole topic is just triggering to people, especially regarding transgender issues. I'm still not comfortable when I hear the F slur in the song, but I do understand the meaning and how he was basically talking about how they'd say it all the time, willy-nilly, and he didn't understand how impactful and hurtful it could be until he interacted with trans and possibly gay members of his family. I think people are retaliating because they were caught off guard by a straight man using the F slur, and once they hear it, instead of trying to understand the message, they want to get him canceled. First of all, Aaron, I appreciate you writing in, and I listened to an episode of Marsha's Plate podcast. I want to say it's the latest episode. You know, all the episodes are good, but this latest episode where we got some of Diamond's trip to France That was dope. I was like, I didn't know they were going to talk about it. I was just listening. And then they had these great segments closer to the end where they talked about pronoun landmines, where, within the LGBTQ spaces, how like some people can weaponize pronouns and that it's not a clear delineation of right and wrong. That like, there's some people, whether they be allies or just actual LGBTQ people, they put their pronouns in their bio, they put the pronouns on their emails and stuff like that, to normalize pronouns so that people can feel like I'm a safe person, I'm an inclusive person. Yes, there's a bit of virtue signaling in it, but also it's a way of saying let's normalize this so that if a trans person has to give their pronouns, it's not a big deal since we all did it, right?
Right.
But there's trans people that don't like that
At all.
And then what do you do when it's in person? And I introduce myself to you because maybe I've been introduced myself to everybody, but I go Rod, he, him, and you go, did Rod just clock me as a trans person? Is he outing me in some type of way? Is this, what does that really mean for me? And it's individual.
Yep.
And when that person wrote in last week, that was the only thing I was trying to explain, was like, it's an individual thing. And if you don't come at it from such a like place of admonition, of admonishing these people, I just think it opens up so much more to honesty, the truth. But we get so caught up in these black and white rules, and it's specifically a lot of that has happened because in my opinion, because of social media and our need to make everything binary, which sounds hilarious and ironic when you think of it. And we're talking about how people identify gender-wise, sexual orientation, all these different things, which the whole point was to say it's not a binary. But we want to got people so bad, we want to get them, that we're like, you can't even tell your story, you can't even tell your truth. You have to lie in perpetuity. You have to lie in the past in order to make this thing work. And
which makes no sense, because everybody grows, everybody evolves, everybody changes. Language change, language grows, language evolves, and we live in a society where you go, you said this 10 years ago. It's like, yes, but it was acceptable 10 years ago, and I don't do that now. And people go fucking, and you be like, the fuck is this?
Well, it's not even that it was acceptable, right? Because like it wasn't acceptable to everybody.
Correct.
So you just didn't know,
right?
And now you do know. And we're like, you can't even say you didn't used to know. Like that, and it's a very binary thing. It's very like you said it, as opposed to what is the context of what was said. I don't like living in that world. I don't want to do my podcast that way. Fans can be that way, but that they need to start their own podcast. You know what I mean? We're just not the show for that. And I feel, similarly with race. So this isn't something like, because it ain't my fight. When it is my fight, when I'm supposed to be amped up, I'm like, I know people that try to recontextualize Robert Downey Jr.'s blackface in Tropic Thunder. And I'm like, no, I was there for that.
Right.
I'm black too. Now you don't have to like it. Maybe someone didn't like it at the time. That's not a representation of most of us, and it's definitely not a representation of me. And last time I checked, this is who does the podcast, me and Karen. So I'm not obligated to be offended on your behalf. And if you need 100% commitment to your being offended and your emotional state, then what that really means is that you're insecure about your shit. Because I'll stand on my own too and be like, well, niggas don't gotta agree. Fine, so I think that's big. I'm not writing in the podcast to change their mind. I don't give a fuck. I know me and I know myself. But all that to say, like, so they had that pronouns thing. I thought that was just a dope conversation because it was very nebulous. It was like, yo, it can be difficult and awkward. It's worth it, but people can weaponize it. People can not like you. Someone can be, in this case, a TERF, someone, a trans exclusionary radical feminist, a person that believes in gender essentialism, a woman is a person with a vagina and that's it, and whatever, right? And so they use that, J.K. Rowling, that like that. They use that to be like, I don't want trans people around in the LGBTQ space. Like, you still a man to me. You shouldn't be out here with these films, that kind of bullshit, right? And so they can then weaponize it like, oh yeah, I'm not using your pronouns, or you fucked up my pronouns, or what, I don't like this, the idea of saying they until you know my pronouns. I don't even like that. If you would have asked that person, they probably would have said some fucked up shit, because it's really about their discomfort with you being around as a trans person, right? So like, anyway, my whole point being, that was a great conversation. Then they talked about Kendrick Lamar's Auntie Diaries, and it was kind of a short conversation, but everyone there kind of expressed frustration. And this is one of the things I keep talking about. There's so many people that are talking over trans people's experience, because I think, like anyone that lives in a treacherous or traumatic situation, people cope, but there's also levels of hope within there. And the people that actually live that experience a lot of times are not as stringent as the allies and the online discourse and the stuff like that. Like, for instance, and one of the intersections I'm in is I'm fat, right? I'm fat. I don't like when people like pick on fat people. I don't like when people point out people's bodies all the time, and I think it's kind of weird, and how obsessed we are with it, and how we make people feel bad about it all the time and all that stuff, and in ways we don't for other things. But it's fine at the same time. I've learned to live with it, and there's some humor and fun in that. I like being the fat dude that can play basketball, and everybody goes, damn, I didn't know this motherfucker's gonna be able to move all that. I love that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, that's one of the ways I cope with the shit that it gets thrown at me for no reason in a lot of cases. And so someone speaking on my behalf might say some shit I actually don't agree with.
Right. And might not even believe in.
Yeah, like they might think they have my back. Like, don't say Lizzo is fat. And I'm like, but she is fat. What's wrong with saying she's fat? The problem becomes when you make it such a derogatory, mocking thing, right? Her being fat is a fact. You trying to turn fat into a slur, I don't want that. You know what I mean? So, it's that kind of thing that I think people don't necessarily think about, because they think they're helping. And instead you end up with them policing language and restricting shit, and being like coming down on people and shitting on them. And it's incentivized online for us to do that. So of course, Twitter, the night Kendrick's album came out, before you can get the Auntie Diaries, people were taking screenshots of all kinds of shit out of context and be like, look what he said about this. And if you listen to the song, it's like, that's the opposite of this. Or in context, what he's saying is that this is all kind of bullshit. People just want to know, because it's the number one thing. It's breaking Spotify because so many people are listening. How can I siphon some attention off of it? And at the end of the day, it's like, they don't really care about trans people. They don't really care. It's like, what I care about is writing a blog that'll get the attention and the clicks. What I care is about making a Twitter thread that'll go viral. That's what they care about. And I think when you listen, and not that these people on Marshall's Plate are representative of the entire community, but just to hear a conversation where it's like, oh, okay, I'm not crazy, right? Like, people understood the intent of the song and artistically what he was going for, right? It wasn't just everyone heard it and immediately got offended. Some people may have, but that's not representative of everybody. And it's important to see that this can be viewed multiple ways, even if it doesn't mean anyone's right or wrong. It just means it can be viewed multiple ways, and everyone doesn't have to like get down or lay down with one version of events.
Agreed. And the biggest point that you brought out was particularly online, and for a lot of people that are allies and help, they speak so loudly that they begin to speak on the behalf of a marginalized group, but you don't even ask the marginalized group like in totality what they think, because it's more about you being right than about actually how the group feels itself. So, it's like Atlanta, watching that episode in Atlanta and Darius, how the white people got more mad on his behalf that he was actually upset and went off on that woman and got her kicked out the house. And I was like, well, damn, that's not even really what he wanted.
Right.
But at some period of time, it's not about what the marginalized group want. Black people go through this, other marginalized groups go through this. It's like other people get involved and it becomes less about you and more about them.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I I think the funny part of it, or the fucked up part, is that those people wanted you to not listen to the album. Just listen to me.
Right.
But here's the math I did that changed a lot of stuff for me. After you went and listened to it and found out that you disagree with them, or maybe they were even just dead wrong, you have to look at the people you surround yourself with online. Because those people were telling you that with the hopes that you would never go investigate, and that he was canceled. You thought he was a bad person. You listened to it, came away with the opposite of that. Well, like, no, this is a good person. This is what good people think. This is what good people do. It might not fit the academic mold,
and it might not be perfect,
but it's absolutely the kind of support that so many people do not get in their life. You know what I mean? Or that those, I guarantee you, I would bet every trans person that's black has been supported by somebody that didn't have the right words or academic shit, but they knew for a motherfucking fact that person had their back.
What? And
I would guarantee
it would go to bat for them and be like, what you ain't gonna do is fuck with this person.
I'm not saying everybody was supportive. I'm
Right.
not even saying the majority of people, but there's got to be at least one or two people in their life that was like, I don't know exactly what's going on, but I love you, and whatever you need that I'm capable of doing, I got you. And no, I might fuck up the words. I might say some shit. I'm not keeping up to date on the latest terms and all that shit.
I'm not on social media. Might not be online like that. Right.
But you know, and that is part of it. You know, learning that stuff helps. But everyone knows what I'm talking about, because you don't have to be trans to know what I'm talking about. You know, if you're black, you know some white person when you like, they don't know all the right words, but like, that motherfucker is ride or die, and I know if shit comes down to it, he'd be the first motherfucker out here to be like, what we not gonna do.
Right. What we not gonna do?
You know,
like you say, don't have the language or the phrase, might not have the education, but you know that this particular person is like, none of that shit matters. What matters is you, and I fuck with you, and ain't nobody else better fuck with you, or else they got a problem with me. And those people has a tendency to get washed because online tells you that, because online kind of skews towards people that are more highly educated and all that stuff. So they act like that group of people don't exist. The group of people that don't have everything together, might not have all the words and shit like that, but will whoop a motherfucker ass on your behalf, even if they don't understand and have the language and have all the context of what's going on. They go, what you're not going to do is fuck with this person.
Good people and good actions better than good words.
Yes.
And I've found, at least in my last 10 years or so, it's a lot of people with good words that have bad actions and bad intentions.
Agreed.
And that happens so often, and yet it continues to happen because people are easily fooled by good words. Like, oh, they say the right shit, and it's like, but do they do the right shit?
What are they act? How do they treat other people?
Like, do they so they knew the latest term for whatever diversity thing we're using as a hurdle to be like, are you a good person? But how did they behave? Because I done seen some people stab somebody in the back with that motherfucking TM at the end of their activism. And I've seen other motherfuckers that ain't never been on Twitter a day in their life, but I know they'll do right by me, you know?
Right.
Ariel says, hey, Karen and Rod, last week's feedback show made me think of when it's okay for someone outside of a group to say a slur used against that group, as in the Kendrick Lamar song. Like, why is it okay for white actors in a movie to call a black person a nigger with a hard R, but it's not okay for white people to rap along with a song and say nigger with an A? Just looking at my own visceral reactions. It doesn't bother me when white actors say it to a black person, but I look sideways at white people who rap along to it. I don't even understand why I feel this way. Yeah, man, something you're gonna have to examine in yourself, because let's be real, those rappers make those songs knowing that everybody's gonna hear them.
Agreed. Yes, they do.
You know, so you make those songs knowing everybody's gonna hear them, everybody's gonna repeat them, knowing you don't have a personal relationship with these white people. And yeah, you might get in a situation where white people are repeating your lyrics back to you and they saying the N-word, because to them it's just art, and they don't have the same grounded understanding we have of race and shit. And that being said too, a lot of times people don't care. It don't bother them. I remember one time, a long time ago, when Benzino was trying to get Eminem for the first time, but not the 75th time, and he thought, actually it might have been about the 5th time. You know, he don't try to get Eminem a lot, But he thought he could get black people to hate Eminem by playing a clip of Eminem on stage in Europe, rapping along with Dre and Snoop Dogg and 50 on stage, where everyone was saying the ad libs, you know how rappers rap and everyone in the background says the ad libs to the words. And sometimes he was saying the N word. And he was like, look at this racist shit. I'm like, so a dude on stage with, in a professional setting with 5 other black dudes that wrote them lyrics with him, that are cool with him, that gonna hop on the bus after this with him, that have labels with him, deals, everything. Those dudes clearly were not offended. They did not think they didn't run up to him like, you're not supposed to say it. They were totally fine with it. And you want my black ass sitting at home eating a fucking tuna sandwich because I ain't got none of the money of these niggas.
Nope.
To be mad about this, I'm not mad. I don't care. And if we're being 1,000% about it, every person just about, you can go back to some shit they said where they either didn't know better or it can look bad to someone else. And I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's just gonna be life. You know, I've never seen Eminem saying that shit in like a racist way, other than that time when he was in high school and a black girl broke up with him, and in some underground basement, unreleased, like terribly audio track when he was 17 or some shit, he said the N-word and apologized for it and all this shit profusely, like a decade later or some shit. And even then I was like, yeah, it's fucked up, but I mean, he don't say that no more. Like, it's over for me. But I also don't find value in being eternally aggrieved.
It's the same. I let shit go. I can't hold on to shit forever. The way my personality functions, you're stuck. You're not going anywhere. It's no growth. Guess what? And I've been alive long enough, and I've been at a place where I was angry at people and things like that. And what I realized one day, I am mad and angry and upset, holding on to something in my heart that may have happened years ago. And you know what? That other person don't even remember the shit. Don't even know the shit existed. Don't even know I'm mad at them. I'm holding on to something, and that person has moved on with their motherfucking life, and I'm goddamn stuck.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not here to tell other people how to feel, but just expressing why I don't feel that way.
Right.
I just for me to survive, I just have to let it go sometimes. I'm just not big on holding on to shit.
And I'm happy. I personally am happy you're like that.
But not just that, I need it for me too. Cause I have to let things go that I've done and said that I'm like, I wouldn't say that now. And I know for me, it was in my own anxiety holding on to those things. Like, remember, in the silence, darkness of the night, in the recesses of my mind, my brain would be the one to be like, remember when you said this? Remember when you fucked this up and you didn't know? Remember when you, I bet you wouldn't say that now, but you did say it then and you didn't know better. Yeah, I didn't know better. And the same forgiveness I would have for somebody else, the same ability to put it in context and have understanding and empathy for them, I have for myself. And, you know, that's the boundary I draw now, is I don't want to be around people that don't have that. And that's fine. My circles are very small because of that. I don't, this wave of we after everybody on everything, it's not my wave. It's not for me.
Not for me either.
You know, my friends, I love and respect them. And sometimes they fuck up and I still love and respect them and just be like, you know, here's where you fucked up, or here's how you could do better. Or even sometimes they fucked up. Hopefully they'll figure that one out. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot more honesty in that, and a lot of people being fake as fuck, in my opinion. Preston writes, hey Rod, our monthly contribution shout out would, so Preston wants me to shout out his podcast, Slang of Ages, for instead of saying Preston Teen Dro. I will try my best, Preston. The only thing is I can't promise, because, and I want to, but I see this, for me, I see it once every 30 days.
Right.
So 30 days from now, I might not remember to say Preston Slang of Ages. Now, I think you may be able to go into PayPal and change the name.
Right.
And then I would see it as Slang of Ages instead of your name.
Correct.
But I don't know if that's something you want to do. And I know this is some real behind the wall technical shit, but I wanted to read this email so you at least got that shout out to the Slang of Ages podcast. He says podcast is going for a year. It's over 20 episodes. Also, I invite you and Karen to join me for a special edition where you talk about your favorite albums. Thanks for your consideration. And yeah, I'll reach out to you or hit me up with another email about scheduling that. We love to do it. Thank you, Preston. But I just don't want to. Maybe it's my own anxiety. I don't want to lie to you and promise some shit that I can't.
Because, like you say, 30 days. We do a lot of shit in 30 days.
I can barely remember to say Ujima or Ujima. Like I have to look it up every time. And I will. But that's how bad it is for me. My brain just don't get it sometimes. I'll be trying. Ether and Arby's. David says, Dear Rod and Karen and Rod. I'm sorry, dear Karen and Rod. Just wanted to let you both know that your content is always enjoyed and appreciated. Your love and dedication shines through everything you both do. On an unrelated note, I was driving through Charlotte while listening to the Blackout Tips, of course, and I happened to come across an Arby's during peak lunch hour. Needless to say, that bitch only had one car in it. And it was an employee's. I couldn't help but laugh. Hopefully Karen can drop her verse on the next gist track. Well, she don't want that. She's scared of these Arby's people. She's scared. Don't let her laugh. That's why she laughs so hard. Because she agrees, but she's scared. She's scared to let them fry her too.
I throw you out there and let you take all the heat.
We drove by Arby's the other day. Because it's from this one grocery store, and the line was much shorter than the other places. And I said, Karen, would you like to get some Arby's? And she said no again. She don't like Arby's. Here's a photo for proof. As always, thank you for your nuance and keep up the excellent work. Much love, David. Thank you, David. And yeah, let me share my screen with y'all because I know y'all want to see this too. And that's fine, you know. I know, except Evie and Miss Barnes, of course, they don't want to see it.
No, they don't want to.
And they'll come up with some conspiracy to why it's not true, but we all know it's true. Let me see. Here we go. So this is the email. This is the picture. And yeah, there's one car in the parking lot. And listen, I live in Charlotte. I ain't never seen this Arby's in my life.
Me, I'm trying to picture where it is.
I don't even know what street this is.
Shit, I guess it must be on the other side of town. I'm like, where is that Arby's?
Look at this old ass design. Okay.
They didn't even upgrade. They even got the old
hat
sign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the newer ones don't do the hats.
Right. They got the seats. Because ain't nobody in that motherfucker.
Nope. Nobody. No.
Miss Smart wrote in to say, basically, I'm making my Karen Rod. I'm making my appointment for my booster because technically I qualify, but I always forget. Anyways, that's when I remember y'all going to the pharmacy. I figured I'd share a special word with the good folks down at CDC. I said, in my best animal print house dress wearing auntie voice. Look, ain't no lines out the door for Boost 2.0. So if y'all want it, we are on an honor system when it comes to saying if your immune systems are compromised. It doesn't have to be severely compromised either, merely moderately compromised. We put it right on our little internet site. Yeah, that's what they said. They had said, I can't speak for y'all, but it's for me in my house. In my state, our health department site is clearly says we don't have to show shit and can't be turned away. But as Black people, I figure we are all immune to the bullshit, and that should count towards us being moderately immune. We go forth and get your fourth Fauci ouchie, and then screenshots below. I believe you. I just say I couldn't do it, man.
Roger going to make an appointment and shit, and I was like, why don't we just walk up there? He was like, no.
I mean, yeah, okay, Karen, you saying that with a lot of bass in your voice? Why don't you go up there by yourself then?
No.
Oh, exactly. I couldn't do it, y'all. I'm sorry. Some internally inside of me told that white woman the truth. And anytime they ask, I'm gonna always say the truth.
Right.
I can't help myself. I'm so disappointed, but this is why I never did weed till I was 43, y'all, because I don't. I don't have
it. Yeah.
I don't have this in me to be too cool about it. I must have had a look on my face that said, please ask me about my eligibility for this vaccine.
You must have. And she was like, let me
ask. Trying to keep it moving. Celeste says, hey, Rod and Karen. I hope you have been doing things to try to de-stress and take it easy. It's been a hell of a week, month, year, century, etc. This week has been so intense for so many reasons. I used to work in victim services and work with people who had their loved ones murdered. It was one of the most difficult, most rewarding jobs I ever had. Families were never the same. Hell, I was never the same. I heard too many first accounts and saw far too many crime scene photos. I got to see the dysfunction of the criminal justice system up close. To part of a role was court support, but I also saw some people were trying their best to help. I got to witness and hopefully play some small part in the healing journey. Yeah, that's a great point too, because we need people like that within the system, and we do have things in place for people. But one of the things that gets so weird to me online in these academic discussions is my loved one was murdered.
Right.
This idea that there's just nothing to be done about it, or I shouldn't want someone going to prison for that or whatever, is insane to me, and speaks of a level of either disassociation or privilege to have never experienced that. Someone ripping the life of a loved one away from you, and then I'm just somewhere high and mighty on Facebook telling everybody how I'm an abolitionist and it'll figure itself out. Like, oh, I can't imagine. And that's, as you said, it leaves a mark on you forever. Not just them, but the people in the system that have to deal with it.
Right.
Anyway, but that's not what you're saying. It just made me think of that. That's all. Well, where we are as a country is so messed up. I don't know any easy ways to make things better, but I do know helping individuals and families matters. Starting wherever we live, big, small. So many are touched by violence. Not everyone dies, and those that remain need and deserve kindness and care. That's why I love Nelba Martinez Green and her husband and son are one of her husband and son are one of the Sandy Hook families, and her daughter Anna was killed. She has tried to do so much good. If you haven't checked out her Twitter feed and listened to some of the interviews she has done, they just built a school. Dr. Bruce Perry, a trauma specialist, was involved. He just did a great, easy to read book with Oprah called What's Happening to You. It's a really good, helpful book by anyone impacted by trauma or interested to learn more. Now for the part that has my blood boiling. I just knew the cops administration, all of those in charge were lying. How incompetent do you have to be to make Border Patrol look better? Like, what the fuck? This story, by the way, keeps changing every day.
It keeps I don't know, right? It's like, what is the truth? Because more videos come out, people were streaming like every time, and that's why they have to keep changing this story, because people are like, that's not what really happened.
Because even the Border Patrol thing, which is the new one, which is, so for those that haven't kept up on it, I don't blame you. With the shooting outside of that school, supposedly the police knew the shooter was going in there, which we did hear right away. They had a shootout with him supposedly going into the school. Now they're saying that he was never confronted on the way to school. I don't know what to believe because I don't trust the cops.
Right.
And there's a reason stories keep changing, because the story is a lie. So they said they confronted this kid outside the school, the dude that did the shooting outside the school. They exchanged fire with him. He ran into the school building, was confronted by a resource officer, but not fired upon, which, how does that make sense? But okay, got into a classroom, barricaded himself, and killed these kids, right? Now the information is changing to where it was, well, they did know he was in there for at least 40 minutes, and they didn't breach the school because they were waiting on a tactical team to show up, okay? Then it became, then video leaked of like the parents, because parents were there that came to the school to get their kids, and some of them said that the police wouldn't let them go in. Like they were yelling at the police to go in, looking at this 19 police officers, and they were like, no, we staying outside where it's no bullets, and your kids are inside, calling 911
right
multiple times,
calling 911, being
killed, and you can hear the gunshots, and we're staying here. Okay. Then the story changed to, okay, they did that. They were holding, and Border Patrol showed up, and Border Patrol was like, man, fuck what y'all talk about. We going in. Some people are saying it was the feds that said, fuck what y'all talking about. We going in. All I know is it took at least 30 to 40 minutes before they went in, period. Other details that have emerged is the dude that was the local police person that was in charge of this thing that said not to go in. They had just had a training on this like a week ago. They had just walked through this school a week ago or some shit, and they didn't do it. They didn't go in. Wow. So whatever the training was, when the bullets started flying, training went out the window. They was like, I'm not doing that shit. So yeah, I don't, and I expect the story to keep changing. I never thought there's never a chance when I see this stuff that I'm like, well, police said, I don't know. I don't know. And I still think the saddest part of this is people that are liberal and people that are Republican and people that are pro-gun will all dunk on the police and miss that big ass trend of mass shootings that is really about accessibility of these type of weapons.
Agreed.
Instead, we're just going to call those guys cowards, and I don't care. Maybe you do. The cowards is irrelevant to me, because what we're then talking about is something that's after the fact. How many less kids would have died? How many kids would have died by the police in the crossfire? I don't know. All I know is this motherfucker should have never been able to get this gun. Anyway, and what is sad is with all the current outrage, most white people will still vote Republican, not hold themselves or each other accountable for the big and little things they do each day to enable some of the large structural problems of this country. Some of us will fall to the trap of apathy. Not to let us off the hook, even though it is hard. We cannot let others convince us to be complacent. That's why your talking point about voting matters, and I so thank you and Karen for that. My parents were involved in civil rights, and it was burned into my brain. If you don't vote, you can't complain. In any case, I hope we can all have some moments of peace. Take care, Celeste. Yeah, that's just my personal thing. I'm never gonna not talk about voting. I'm never gonna not vote, and I'll never be that complacent. I think there's just a level of compartmentalization that has to take place when you live in this country. Because how would you ever be able to function? You know. Next is Joe. He says, hi, Rod and Karen. I think we can all agree. We know exactly what Republicans are about. We know their platform, their official position on most, if not all, issues. We also know that very few people over there will do anything to work against it. Sure, there are those Lincoln Project people and the one Cheney on the January 6th commission, but there remains precious little infighting, at least not any that anyone can see. Yeah, and there's 2 Republicans on that committee, but I feel the big problem seems to be that even as we can identify the problems, there appears not to be a strong enough opposition force to fight it. Podcasts, websites, print media, cable news, everyone presumes that the Democrats are supposed to be that force, but this force is lacking. And he has 2 bullet points. Outlets that would see themselves as more progressive place the brunt of the blame on those elected to office, that their mainstream position is committed to maintaining the status quo. The second bullet point. Meanwhile, other outlets still support the current troop of Democrats and place more responsibility on the far too wide range of not Republicans. Too many being either too comfortable or too indifferent to the needs of those whose survival is more dependent on government intervention. Your views appear to reflect this second group. Well, it's a little telling that you described the second group, placing more responsibility on the far too wide range. Like, that's a little telling, that the Democrats cannot really do what they need and or want to do because they don't have any as strong support from the population. Apologies if I'm misstating your position. I myself think there's enough blame to go around, both with the many elected officials, not just Manchin and Sinema, and the population. All right, let's go. Here's a question that you do not have to answer. Is sustained change really possible? Regardless of who should be blamed for the predicament, nothing seems to be going anywhere. Many of us find it way too easy to contort ourselves in order to find some semblance of comfort. A good number require no real contortion to do so. And those people who say they want everything to burn to precipitate action would have to admit that this probably won't really happen. And if it did, it would be a brief action, both reversion to the mean, before reversion to the mean. There have been a number of reports about recent events stating that the majority of us want to retain reproductive rights, to enact some form of gun control measures, and to resolve climate change. But what do those numbers really mean? How serious is the resolve within those high percentages? That seems to be the real problem. Soon enough, we will grow weary of whatever the latest issue or turn our heads to something else. Or look, Walmart created Juneteenth ice cream. I don't have a question. This is too long already. I thank you both for letting me vent on this letter. Also, thank you for continuing to do your show, which provides a much needed analysis and commentary on all these things. As always, you both are very insightful, and I appreciate everything you do. This includes your stories on things like procreation abilities of one Nick Cannon. He apparently believes in the future. So I did respond back to this email because I was like, it was one of those things where if I'm going to talk about this on the air, I have questions. And since you emailed, at least I can email you back and hopefully you'll respond. So I just asked, just to be clear and specific, what are the things the non-Manchester Cinema Democrats should be blamed for? Specifics, please. Because I think when you just throw out there politicians, it's not just politicians. It's Republican politicians who are not breaking rank on this at all in the Senate and Mansion and Cinema. That's specific. When we talk about the people who we need to change, the votes we need to get, who we need to get up out of there, those are the people I'm talking about. This thing where we just say politicians makes it sound like it's some even shit. Even this whole thing of supporting, you know, there's people that support the current Democrats. I support Democrats, period, because I'm supporting Republicans losing. I don't know how many times I can say this on this show, but I guess I haven't said it enough. I'll say it again. I'm pro winning. I don't give a fuck. I vote for AOC. I vote for Ilhan Omar. I'd vote for Joe Biden. I vote for Hillary Clinton. I want to win. Some people just not as petty as me, I guess. Seeing them lose it gives me such pleasure. Because these people are evil, in my opinion. Like, these Republicans are evil. They're trying to take us back to slavery, as Karen says often. Yes. So if I truly believe that, why would I ever be like, but this Democrat wasn't good enough? No, nigga, they all good enough compared to the other option. And it's just, I'm seeing how few people, not few, because honestly, we're the majority of people, but seeing that there's a contingent of people that claim to be petty, claim to be liberal, claim to be progressive, that go, but I'm going to sit this out. But if they lose, I don't care. It's all the same to me. That's the part that bothers me, because I'm like, you're lying. You're full of shit. There's no way to look at these facts objectively and not come to the conclusion that we need more of these people in office and not less. There's just no fucking way. You know how you get even more progressive candidates? By voting candidates in. That's how you win. This I'm a wait shit is not working. Anyway, he writes back. According to those other podcasts that he was talking to, these other Democrats give symbolic messages, giving the impression they want to do things, but ultimately do nothing substantive. Here's the reason that's kind of bullshit. Republicans do that, and they just continue to get support, and they're winning. They do that all the time. They don't get that thing until they get that thing, right? Like, for 50 years, they've been campaigning on we're going to get Roe v. Wade overturned. And for 50 years, people have continued to vote for them, going, one day that will happen. We're the side that goes, we didn't get that within 10 minutes. I'm out. I'm going to let them have it. They don't do that. They do not abandon. We don't have the resolve. We are the whack ones. We're the weak ones. We're the ones that don't have that backbone. And we think it's a politician thing, but we don't give them sturdy ground to plant their feet and say, I'm standing in the stand. I'm standing right here. You're not going to push past me. We're the ones going, yeah, but I mean, I got to vote again. So now guess what they have to do? Beg these fucking Republicans. Hey, man, can you please? They got to beg the moderates. Hey, man, can we please? We need every vote. Because we're somewhere at home like, I don't feel like it. I just ain't up to it today. Y'all got it right. I saw someone they were being snarky, of course, but it was like, I didn't know I was gonna have to keep fighting if Joe Biden got the seat. It's like, yes, Nick, what the fuck? Do you see the other side not fighting? Is that what you think? It's like you're playing a basketball game and you're like, I didn't know the other team was gonna score points. Yes. And you had to continue to stop them or score. An example that will often be presented for this symbolism is when some of the House Democrats wore the kente scarves and knelt. I do not recall specific impetus for this, but let's get into that. That was seen as a mere gesture. As for, I find that interesting because one, they were given those kente cloth things by the Congressional Black Caucus.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those Congressional Black Caucus members wore them too. It wasn't just white people wearing them, and they took that knee. And it's funny because that's what they were asked to do by black people who were elected. So what you're really saying is they shouldn't have done that. So they were supposed to tell the Congressional Black Caucus, I won't wear your kente scarf and I'm not taking the knee for George Floyd. Fuck y'all. It won't look good for Twitter. This is the context that is missing from so many people's analysis and why I don't take them seriously. It's one of the reasons I'm not trying to be in these communities. I find them to be hilariously short-sighted and offensively cynical to a point that is destructive and stupid, frankly. I find it to be stupid. If watching Nancy Pelosi take a knee in Kennedy Carver made you go, we should let Republicans have it, you're just not my kind of strategic person. Anyway, as for more substantive concerns, and also they did try to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which was voted down by Republicans. So once again, they did try to do something. And going back to the first point, if we had more Democrats, it would have passed. So yes, that's what I'm on. It seemed like some simple math. Not one of these niggas has proven me wrong yet. As for more sustainable concerns, these will be strategic in nature, such as Obama not simply appointing Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court via an alternative process that was afforded to him. This will come back later. More specific to Biden, the main concern seems to be his campaign about student loan forgiveness, then not pursuing it. Let me just go ahead and give you a spoiler alert on that. Joe Biden never campaigned on getting rid of student loans.
He never did. I don't know why people keep saying that. He never did.
It's Russian and a lot of misinformation purposely, because listen, a lot of these people are stupid and easily misled because they want to believe something negative. So when they hear something negative about one of these Democrats, they latch onto it as if it's true. They don't verify shit. Joe Biden did not campaign on getting rid of student loan. That was not his thing. He didn't say I'm getting rid of student debt. That was not one of his issues. He also never said he would defund the police. That was not one of his issues. So he won with the most people voting for him ever. So this was not some issue that people saw as a kneecap to him. Like, oh, he didn't say student loans. Fuck that nigga. I'm not voting for him. He didn't need the people that felt that way. He didn't need them. So that's the part that's become very interesting, is this revisionism. He'll get to the Merrick Garland thing in a second, but yes, he's wrong about that as well. And this is what happens when you just listen to these uncritical ass podcasts that don't do no fucking research and they just be talking. This is how Breonna Joy Gray make her money. They just be talking, riling you up into disillusionment and negativity, and they don't even have the fucking facts. At least be right. I don't care about feelings and vibes. And maybe that's my weakness. And one of the reasons that I sound so like adamantly, right, I'm going to vote and I'm going to vote Democrat is because I didn't vote for Obama because of hope and change posters.
No,
that's white people shit. That's millennial shit. That's that I want to like the people running for office shit. I don't care about that.
Do the job.
I just care if you can try to push forward the goals I have and think are smart for society. That's the only thing I care about. Can you do that or can you not? Will you at least try? I know you can't guarantee it's gonna happen, but you can try.
Mm-hmm.
I'm smart enough to look at the big picture and see why it will or won't happen. Anyway, so I replied. He says, I will admit blame is not the best word choice, especially since I'm not providing specific instances where elected Democrats have done things that specifically created havoc. This is part of my frustration. When the opposition is waging battle on multiple fronts, I just can't see their actions as equal and opposite reaction. What more can they do? Yeah, I don't have the answer either. All right, I replied. I appreciate your response, but you have to see this as a bait and switch. We were talking about gun policy at the beginning. Then we switched to student loans. I will respond to each of these on tomorrow's show, but this is kind of the kind of performative impartiality that irks my nerves. These parties aren't the same or even similar when it comes to a lot of issues. And those other podcasts are out to lunch, in my opinion. Nothing that has been said has made the solution any different from how I see it. We need more Democrats in office, and we really say, if we really say we want these things, student loan forgiveness, Biden didn't campaign on that. That's false. Merrick Garland, Obama didn't have the votes, and there was no alternative process that's been used to get a justice seated without a vote. I'm pragmatic, but I'm also knowledgeable. These other podcasts be less informed and emotionally yelling do something while not having a clue what can be done. It's frustrating. Once again, I appreciate your reply, but everything brought up is something I've addressed on the air before. So Joe replied, thank you for your response as well. I was not specifically talking about gun policy in my original email. Perhaps it's the wrong time for it, but I was thinking more generally about the overall environment that includes gun policy, but not just that. He's right. Because of what's been happening this week and what brought up these political conversations throughout the week, I thought you were writing specifically to the fact that I was like, yeah, we're going to have to vote our way out of this gun shit because you can't wait for Republicans to grow a conscience. You can't shame them into doing it. You're going to have to keep them out of office. Nothing else will work. And it's just, do the people want that or not? And you can say it's too broad. I don't think it's too broad. Anybody who is enabling Republicans into office is part of the problem, period. Whether you're voting for the Green Party, whether you're not voting at all, or whether you're voting Republican, you are all equally part of the problem to me, because you all have one vote and you're not fucking using it. And then you claim that you don't want to see these people in office. You claim to be upset by Greg Abbott and Ted Cruz and all these people, and then you sit there and you just watch them watch a coronation of these motherfuckers do it over and over, and then you make it somehow everyone's fault but yours. It's Joe Biden's fault. It's Kamala Harris's fault. It's Democrats' fault. It's everybody except for the people that refuse to lift a finger to get these people out of office. That's all. Anyway.
Yeah, and also is one of the things where, going back to the first one, the main point is voting.
All right.
Okay. Voting, because you sound frustrated too. Like, I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when people are frustrated, you're trying to find out who's responsible, who to blame. So I understand you like listening to various different opinions and to find out. But a lot of these people, sweetie, at the end of the day, they actually don't care like you do. Because if you vote people in office, you would not have this thing. What, like you say, what are people supposed to do? Motherfucking vote. Like voting, the populace voting and putting the people that you want in office solves this problem. And unless you attack that specific issue, it can become frustrated, because like, what can we do? Well, numbers matter. And a lot of this is math. And people don't want to talk about the math of this shit. They go, well, we got people in there, just do something. It's like, we can't do it unless we get rid of the filibuster. Well, then why don't we get rid of the filibuster? Well, we can't do that unless we have enough people in there to get rid of it. Why don't you vote these laws? Well, we put it in on one side of the government, and then the other side says, fuck that shit, I'm not doing anything. And everybody gets mad, everybody gets upset, and everybody points fingers. But at the end of the day, nobody wants to blame themselves for sitting out. Nobody wants to blame themselves for Trump being in office. Nobody wants to blame themselves for not voting for Hillary Clinton. Nobody wants to blame themselves for being conned on a lot of shit and taking things that were false on the internet and claiming that they are true. And the thing is, when it comes to certain things, people are holding Biden accountable for shit that he did not run for. There are other people in the Democratic Party that said those things. He, in his running, never said those things. He may have said, I might consider something like that, but this was not his platform. His whole thing was not, these are the things that I'm going to do. And so people are mad and upset, and they holding him accountable for shit that he never said he was going to do. Okay. Let's say I give you that. Well, then, okay, get people in office that will get the shit done that you claim you won't. You go, well, my shit matters. Nobody else's shit matters. And because my student loans can't be cleared, fuck it. It makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah. And the second they do anything, it becomes it doesn't count for some reason. The bomb, because here's the real grift that's happening. Keeping you listening is the real hustle, right? That's the real money for them. And so if you're a person that's frustrated and you want to say, I voted Democrat and not enough has changed, telling you that it's the Democrats' fault. They meant for it to be this way. They just don't care as much as you care. They love when kids get killed in schools because they don't give a fuck. They're just going to go and do whatever they want to do. That's the hustle that keeps you listening and giving them money. And because we're the only ones who care, y'all. No one else cares but us. It's just me and you over here. We care. Everyone else just doesn't get it. Over and over. It's been 6 years. And those people talked a lot of demotivation into our society. And a lot of this stuff is chickens coming home to roost. You know, this is the importance of 2016 coming home to roost, because even the shit they want Biden to do as executive orders and shit, it really might go to that Supreme Court and get struck down. Right. And we're talking about, you know, we're not even just talking about the social initiatives trying to help Black people and kids and all this shit. I'm talking about stuff that is supposed to help every American, like mandates for vaccines. They're striking that down. Mm-hmm. Rent moratoriums. That's not a Black thing. Mm-hmm. It helps Black people disproportionately, as many of the policies of the Biden administration have done, but it gets struck down because it's not constitutional, because a president can't do but so much, and Congress and the Senate are the Senate is too much deadlocked with Republicans and Manchin and Sinema. So all I'm saying is be specific. When I'm talking shit about politicians, I try to be specific with my shit. Like, these 50 Republicans that never break rank and these 2 motherfucking Democrats that always side with them, fuck them. Right. And we need to get them out of office. Any and all of them. I'm down with that. And the sad part is, when you say, what are we going to do? Is that ultimately, because Republicans have gamed the system so hard, the only thing that, and it's the one thing that so many people have not done the math, and so they're short-sighted, and because they want to feel good, they're not going to accept this solution that I'm about to say, because it's a bad feeling solution, right? The only thing that's going to get us out of this is appealing to white people to change their minds, because that is how rigged many of these municipalities have become when it comes to voting, because so many people understand and fear the Black vote, the thing that these people are saying to abstain from doing. So many of these places more scared of your vote than you understand. So they marginalize your vote enough to where it's like, if we can just convince white people, we'll win every time. And now we have left the country and many politicians with no choice but to go appealing to these racist, bigoted white people, because they'll never get the fucking numbers, because we've abdicated responsibility in many cases for our own votes, and that's not cool. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying we as Black people, I mean, we as these liberal, progressive people have went, yeah, I don't believe in the power of vote, and I'm gonna just sit this out. And it's like, well, you know who believes in it? Ron DeSantis, because he's doing everything he can to rig it so that the Black vote is marginalized as fuck in Florida. He's scared of it, but you're not scared. You don't want to use it, because he ain't scared of your guns. He ain't scared of your marches. He ain't scared of your, because they can just make a new law, make that illegal tomorrow. Come on. But anyway, all right. I really do not disagree with you, and do not intend to convey that sort of both sides equally accusation that you picked up. Yeah, because I mean, from the beginning, when you said politicians, and I don't just mean mention the cinema, and then you got to start naming names, dog, because it's clearly 50 motherfuckers in these other 2 that be voting against this shit. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's 2 more, maybe it's 1 more, but to me, 96% of these motherfuckers in the Democratic Party ain't the problem, because they happily be voting that shit that I'm agreeing with. So now, how do I get them help? Anyway, I appreciate you responding to my email. It's caused me to take a deeper look at the information I picked up from other media sources, such as the viability of the recess appointing Garland. That comes up all the time, but only now seeking rebuttal did I come across the screen information on why that's not really viable. I'm glad you saw it. Mm-hmm. Again, thank you for doing what you do. You do these things. You do think about these things a lot, and I'm grateful that you took the time to challenge your insight that it turns out I had no data to back up. Man, listen, I ain't even mad at you. Mm-mm. Same way that other person wrote in last week and was wrong about Wanda Sykes, even though I think they did take it personal. But listen, you right in here. This is a place where you can disagree, It doesn't mean I'm gonna kiss your ass or something. Be like, oh, I got to agree with you. You said. I'm gonna be honest with you in my response. I'm sure you get frustrated that I disagree. I'm frustrated that we disagree sometimes, but I don't feel like it has to be disrespectful. I'm not gonna call you out your name or whatever the fuck, but and I curse and everything, so I am gonna curse, but I'm not gonna call you out your name. But my main point being like, I understand and empathize with the frustration. I just think I'm at a point now where I don't care about feelings enough because I've seen how destructive feelings are. The side that cares about people, and maybe this is my weakness, and maybe this is why Democrats will lose, right? But the side that cares about feelings, the reason they're winning is based on a lot of lies and misinformation because those people are feelings over facts. And I hate when our side is feelings over facts. Facts matter. And how you feel, I get that matters too, but it don't matter that fucking much. Like, you gotta fucking, like, it's back it up with some facts. That's all I'm asking. You know, like this general malaise of these Democrats, right? Like, no, nigga, what do you mean? Because you might be right, and there might be something where I'm like, oh yeah, you're right about that. That is they can be better at that. But then a lot of times it's just these feeling shit. I want them to tweet harder. I want to be like Beto. Beto, y'all wouldn't vote for?
Right.
Beto, you fucking destroyed it to try to get Bernie because he was a threat to Bernie as this white guy who was able to be charismatic and talk that good shit. He had to be destroyed on the internet. But now that's the messaging you want. And the last thing I'll say is this. Too many people say they don't understand the messaging. There's not enough. The messaging is right with Democrats is not good enough. Every last time I hear that is from a person that absolutely understands the messaging. It's good enough for something. It's never some motherfucker that's confused. It's always a motherfucker like, oh yeah, that's what this policy means, and that's what they should do. Okay, well then that sounds like it's working. Yeah, like how dumb you gotta be to not know what the fuck they mean when they talk about shit. Like this shit, some of this shit not complicated. We're not talking about some nuance like, is it going to be a 46% tax or a 47% tax? We're talking about shit like which party is okay with women's right to choose what to do with their bodies.
Right.
I'm not sure the messaging can be any fucking clearer on that. Like, at some point, we got to admit, it's a bunch of people that just don't want these things we want. That's the fight.
Yeah, and it's not the same. And also something I've kind of realized too that's very, very frustrating, and just listening to the people talking all that shit. A lot of times, a lot of these people, guess when they support people? When they have no fucking power. Because you know what? Like you were talking about people talking about Beto. Guess what? When he was in a position to actually do something, people didn't show up and vote for him to put him in a position where he could do something.
Right.
Now he's someone with no power, and all of a sudden you give props for people who can't fucking control anything and can't do anything.
Right. It's like, honestly, I think there's a lot of people that are on the Democrat side that like being disenfranchised. And I mean this in the academic online circles. They like the idea of being powerless because then you can never be responsible.
Agreed.
John writes, and my thing is, I want to be responsible even for the bad shit. When I remember when Obama was, and this is a Russian, the amount of outrage about it was like complete online Russian misinformation and Russian like Russians bots hyping it up. But I remember when he was in charge and it was like, what about all these drone strikes? And I was like, you know what? He's responsible for that. And America's responsible for that. We're a war machine. Whoever's on top of it is going to be killing people at some point. And that's a valid criticism. I hear you. But my point is, it will be worse under a Republican. And that's what I vote for. I can't abstain and act like the blood's not on my hands. Because you know what? Trump did more. None of you talked about it.
Nope.
And the blood was on your hands if you sat up there and voted for him or you decided not to vote, because that's the alternative. You're not helping the other countries by saying, I'm not going to vote. You're helping your own fucking ego so you can go, I didn't do it, but you did do it because you live here and you're responsible for the fucking empire. And you get a say every year, if not multiple times, when you go to a voting booth. You get a say on will it be 100 people that die or 50 people that die. And you chose 100 because you said I won't do anything. You're just as fucking complicit. So that's the real of it. I'd like to live in the reality of it. I don't want to do this thing while I'm signifying to y'all and y'all think I'm a good person because I sat around and told y'all I didn't do nothing. Well, I see you as a coward. Do something. That's what y'all say, right?
That's the motto, ain't it?
All right. Last thing, reasonable gun owners, Korean food, etc. John says, hi, good morning, Rod and Karen. Rod, the thing with the reasonable gun owners organizing and exerting power in the GOP is I'm not sure that's even possible. To be a Republican nowadays, you have to be 100% all in on everything. And I imagine that as soon as you step out of line, even in the slightest, you get brutally piled on by the crazies. I know statistics and polls show that a majority of people, including GOP voters, approve of common sense gun restrictions like banning assault rifles, background checks, etc. But I just don't know how they get any traction in pushing the GOP towards any measure of sanity. Well, they would have to organize. I don't think it's impossible at all, by the way. I think they would just have to organize. I think the NRA and gun owners are a big ass check for Republicans. Mm-hmm. And not just check financially, but check on their voting booth. They know you're going to vote Republican. And so that shit matters the most to them. If they were to say, we either not voting or we're going to vote for the politician that gives us responsible gun laws, that Republican would have to change, because if not, it'll just be a Democrat in that seat. You know, there are enough gun owners to change, to put some pressure on them, but they don't want to, because they, at the end of the day, the NRA just gives they just did it recently. They give another speech. They let Trump get on stage and tell you your guns are going to get taken away. Mm-hmm. And all those motherfuckers fold because they don't give a goddamn about people getting killed. I think a major part of the problem is GOP voters seem to sincerely believe in slippery slope bullshit that if they give an inch, the next thing you know, be confiscating all the guns. Never mind the fact that even on our side, very few people will even go along with that. Though, like you, I absolutely would. The irony is that when you flip things, we very much do have to worry about slippery slopes with regard to abortion, LGBTQ rights, etc. Because as we've seen countless times, Republicans will never stop with a moderate, reasonable compromise on any issue. About the only good thing about this horrible I think it's Uvalde massacre is that I see more and more people finally opening their eyes to the reality of police. The way they constantly threaten not to do their jobs and let the public suffer whenever they're criticized and missed any call for oversight and accountability. It's a pretty big tell and how they really feel about protecting the servant. Their outrage over vaccine mandates and threatening to strike over them spoke volumes. I hope you're right, man. I see, so far I've seen people that already had agreed that the police was bad sharing that stuff. So I don't know. Maybe some people open their eyes, but you may also be in some circles I'm not in, because I don't have a lot of white people around me. So maybe there are some white people that are finally seeing it for the first time. Like, wait a minute. And it could be just that. That's probably what it is. I probably just ain't in them circles. But I mean, it's always good when people see that the police is some bullshit. It's always good, because I don't think policing has to be this way, but the way it is fucked up, and it's never going to change as long as people just go, well, that's just how it got to be, you know, because at the end of the day, those people are just human beings. They're not heroes and all the shit we make them out to be. We militarized the police in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, and they was waiting on the goddamn SWAT to get there and shit.
To do paperwork and facts and shit.
Yeah, like that shit never made sense. Mm-hmm. And like when it was ISIS and shit, it was, we need Humvees in the middle of fucking Gastonia, South Carolina, because ISIS. And now it's like, well, y'all just had a dude with an AK, with an AR-15 or whatever, run up in the school, and y'all ain't do shit. Y'all was on the outside chilling. So y'all scared of these guns too.
Come on.
What happened to when y'all was for the assault rifle ban? Like, y'all so in the GOP's pocket now, y'all can't come out and say, yeah. So because Democrats want to literally make your job easier by saying, here's some alternatives to you rushing into every fucking mental health situation with a gun, y'all are mad at them because they trying to lower the chances of you having to in quotes shoot some innocent or unarmed black person. They trying to lower the chance of that, and you mad at them. So you signing up with the put guns in babies' hands people. Totally agree with you on the people who only serve to demotivate voters on our side. They are even worse than Nazis in some ways, and I'm so glad I cut the people out of my life. Yep, life been better without them. On a lighter, unrelated note, I saw you were checking out Korean cook Mon's Cheese video. She is the best. Yes,
She's
Mon Cheese.
adorable.
Every recipe we made of hers has been great, and I always love her videos, which are not only informative but fun. Her recipe for spicy tofu soup is, to paraphrase Karen, motherfucking flames.
Ooh.
P.S. on the power rankings of sports TV fuckery, who do you rank worse, Barkley, Shaq, or Whitlock? I'm guessing Whitlock. Yeah, obviously Whitlock. Every time I think Whitlock can't sink any lower, he made a surprisingly just sat. Yeah, all Whitlock has is that his sports analysis is non-existent. Like at this point, when's the last time you saw a video about Jason Whitlock just saying something about a player that was about sports? Right? It's kind of sad when you think about it. Like his sports opinions are just non-existent and no one cares. There's never a time where it's just like, I don't think Giannis is a ... player. It's always got to be some type of weird race angle because he's a race peddler, race hustler. He's never going to be better than that. And then worse, Shaq or Barkley? Probably Barkley after Whitlock, although I think there's a lot of miles between them. And then Shaq, and that one's very close. And I don't despise Barkley or Shaq. I just think it's ridiculous that they're ever asked about some of the shit they're asked about, because it's like they clearly don't know and don't care to know. And I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't watch a lot of other sports, but I just can't imagine. I don't know, like the hockey. Oh, Karen's getting some food. Let's give her a second. I can't imagine the like hockey halftime doing a "what about the kids in Chicago" moment.
No, they don't even ask them.
Right. Okay, I'm off to fix myself a cone of John Brown fudge ice cream. Cheers and stay safe. Yes. All right, y'all. That's it for today. Tomorrow we'll have a guest. We're looking forward. Yeah, we're looking forward to that.
What time?
It's gonna be at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Crowdcast. It's Jordan Temple, who I know wrote an episode of Atlanta this year. He worked on Abbott Elementary, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Like he's a beast ass producer / writer. So we'll be asking him about his life and what it's like to work on Abbott Elementary and Atlanta and all that type of stuff. So I'm looking forward to talking to him.
Yay!
So yeah, tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, in the morning. In the afternoon. We'll see y'all. Until then, I love you.
I love you too.
Mwah. Bye, everybody.